Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Mario Cristobal, the Miami Hurricanes, set to host a monster weekend on the recruiting trail as they play Duke this Saturday, and it is becoming very evident. And this is something we've talked about a lot for this Miami Hurricanes program, injecting the momentum that you have on the football field, putting it on the recruiting trail as well. It's very clear that that's what's happening within this program. Want to talk about it, kind of focus on some 2026 names that are really intriguing that will be on campus, but also talk about some 2025 names that getting them back on campus I think is massive. And you look at a guy like Timmy Meritt that we'll talk about a little bit later. I mean, Timmy Merritt's recruitment is getting picked up. There are a lot of programs in the SEC that are going to be trying to flip this kid. Getting him back on campus before National Signing Day, I think is massive. Fired up to get into it. Now, before we do, and as always, to the Miami Hurricane fans, it starts with just an appreciation for the amount of support y'all continue to show to the boys, not only talking this team in 2024, but continuing to talk about this team on the recruiting trail. Y'all know it's something I love to do. The amount of support you guys continue to show, it means the absolute world. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, let it fly in the comment section in terms of some early names in 2026 that you want to see Miami land. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. And I want to start with the name in the 2025 cycle. Timothy Meritt from the state of Alabama broke down his commitment when he committed back in the summer. Really big fan of this kid. He checks a lot of boxes that you're looking for in those boundary cornerbacks. 6'2", 180, long, fast, plays the football in the air. I'm not that surprised that a lot of SEC programs are circling back on Timothy Meritt, and I think Miami wants to hold him. You look at the position that I think they're trying to address the most in the 2025 cycle, it's into the defensive backfield. And I think Timothy Meritt was a guy that they liked early. I thought it was a phenomenal evaluation by Miami. Like, they got on this kid early, got him committed. Now you want to hold him. Timothy Meritt, staying with this Miami Hurricanes class, he's one of my personal favorites in the 2025 cycle. You're seeing Tennessee circle the wagons on him. You're seeing Arkansas go after him. A lot of other SEC programs. This is big to get Timothy Meritt back on campus and kind of maintain that commitment heading into National Signing Day. Now, the 2026 names are incredible. Now, we're not going to talk about every single 2026er that's going to be on campus because, quite frankly, I haven't gotten deep enough into the 2026 cycle to talk about a lot of these guys. The headliners, the guys that I'm familiar with, it's a special group of talent. And I want to start with arguably my favorite prospect in the 2026 class. That's five-star offensive tackle Jackson Campbell. Talk about a box checker. It doesn't get any better than Jackson Campbell. Let's just start with the bloodline. Both his parents are Olympians, throwers. His dad was a bronze medalist in the 2008 Olympic Games. Jackson Campbell's background as an athlete is what stands out to me the most. He's one of the best throwers in the country. He's a very good basketball player. What do those two backgrounds have in common? And when you're an offensive lineman, you want to have really good feet. The basketball background certainly helps that. You want to have power in your hands. The throwing background helps with that. I mean, you're talking about 6'8", 300 pounds with just the ideal athletic profile for the offensive tackle position. But I think more importantly, or just as importantly, you go into the film and say Jackson Cantwell as a polished offensive tackle is incredible. It's really hard to find offensive tackles that, one, check all the boxes as an athlete, and then also have a really, really polished game as an offensive tackle on the football field as well. Francis Maui Noah vibes in terms of Jackson Campbell, a guy that we saw when he committed to Miami. We kind of said, all right, he checks all the boxes from an athlete. He's a really polished offensive lineman with the frame to start year one. I'd probably say the same things for Jackson Campbell. This is a guy that I would not be very surprised. Any program he commits to, would not be surprised in the slightest if Jackson Campbell was a year one starter at the offensive tackle spot. It doesn't get more complete as a prospect than Jackson Campbell. Obviously, you guys see the rankings, top 5 national prospect, consensus best offensive tackle in the 2026 cycle. Now, what are Miami's chances at landing Jackson Campbell? I think it's really hard to tell. Everybody in the country wants him. Again, the fact that Miami can get this kid on campus, throw their hat into the ring, That's where we see Mario Cristobal do his best work. I mean, when you have this many irons in the fire, you're going to get traction with some of these kids. And if you can get traction with Jackson Campbell, that's going to be a huge storyline for Miami. We always talk about getting these guys at the high school ranks so you don't have to go into the transfer portal and address the offensive line spot. It's massive. This is my top target for Miami in the 2026 class. Now, equally as an impressive of a prospect, Kendra Harrison, 5-star tight end from the state of North Carolina, legitimate basketball player. I mean, offers from Texas A&M, Wake Forest, Florida State on the hardwood. This kid could play probably 5 different positions on the football field. Now, I like him best at that split out wide tight end matchup nightmare kind of pass catcher. What's really helping Miami here is look at all the success that the tight ends are having within this Miami Hurricanes offense. Guys like Elijah Royal, Riley Williams, Elijah Lofton as a true freshman. Kendra Harrison is a fascinating prospect for a couple of different reasons. He's 6'4" or 6'7", 250 pounds. In terms of straight line linear athlete, it's all there. Like, he can motor when he's going in a straight line. Now, the fluidity maybe leaves a little bit to be desired, but that's kind of to be expected when you're talking about a 6'7" prospect. Kind of reminds me of Darnell Washington coming out a couple of years ago, committed to Georgia. Crazy. I know this is kind of a crazy take. I don't think it's crazy to see Kendra Harrison making a transition to the offensive tackle spot. I mean, 6'7", he's already 250, has that frame to get up to 300 pounds. I think he could be a great offensive tackle. I think he could be an edge rusher. No, I think he wants to play tight end. I think that's the position that probably, as we sit right now, best suits him. Red zone target is probably what stands out to me the most. You know, in this RPO system for Miami, attacking the middle of the field is massive. You talk about a pass catcher that just commands the middle of the field as a massive, massive catch radius. Kendra Harrison's that guy. And I think the frame allows him to be a good blocker. I think he needs to put on a little bit more weight, specifically in the lower half, if he wants to be an elite blocker. But anytime you're 6'7", like you have the ability to be a really good blocker on the perimeter as an inline guy. Again, this would be one, a really exciting cat, and two, with the success Miami's having with their tight ends. And this is a Miami Hurricanes team that they like to go to 2 tight end sets as well. So if you're Kendra Harrison saying, I'm going to get a lot of opportunities early for this Miami Hurricanes team, I think this kid would be a dynamite commitment for Miami. Next guy I want to talk about, Derek Cooper. And I think Miami's got a great shot at landing him. And I'll just be quite frank about Derek Cooper. I think he's a running back. I see them listing him as a safety now. He plays both at down there in Hollywood, Florida at Chaminade Madonna Prep. This kid's an elite running back. When I look at Derek Cooper and watch the film, I think he could be a very good safety too. This is not me getting up here and say he's not going to be a very good safety, but I look at him, I watch the film and say 6'1", 200, 10.7 in the 100-meter dash, electric with the football in his hands. It's hard for me to watch Derek Cooper and say, how can you not want to get the football into this kid's hands? That's kind of where it comes down. You see the success that South Florida kids are having at the college level. Guys like Jeremiah Smith. There's a laundry list of guys. I think Derek Cooper could be one of them, specifically at the running back spot. Now, I think it depends on what Miami's looking for in the running back class in 2026. At the end of the day, when I watch Derek Cooper, it's hard for you to convince me that this kid shouldn't be playing on the side where he gets the opportunity to have the football in his hands. Again, wherever he plays, going to be a phenomenal player for the Hurricanes, but Derek Cooper, a guy to certainly watch. I think Miami would probably be the leader in the clubhouse for him. Another guy I want to talk about, Anthony Jones. This is another example of, do I think Miami is going to be in his top 3? Maybe not. Throw your hat in the ring. This is one of, if not the best edge rusher in the 2026 class from the state of Alabama. Look, Miami's done a really good job developing edge rushers, guys like Ruben Bain, even a guy like Tyler Barron. Like, seems to be taking that next step while he's with the Miami Hurricanes. Or a guy like Hakeem Mesidor. I look at it and say, suddenly with a coach like Taylor coaching these guys up, this is becoming a really attractive spot for defensive linemen to play their college football, because one, you're competing at the highest level of the sport. Two, you have really good coaching. You're developing guys to go to the NFL. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami can get in it with Anthony Jones. Now, it's going to be hard to get him out of the state of Alabama with Auburn and Alabama going after him. Again, just an example, Mario Cristobal, this coaching staff putting in a ton of work to get some of these elite prospects on campus checking out Miami. Just start with the initial connections. Like, we don't even know what the future of Hugh Freeze at Auburn looks like. And so what happens if he commits to Auburn? Hugh Freeze is not there in 2025. You never know. And so if you're Miami, just continue to build those relationships. Last guy I want to talk about, Florida commit Jaylen Waters. Another example of, hey, when you have the amount of success you're having on the football field, and then you combine that with what Florida and Florida State are looking like, you should be eating up the state of Florida. And I think that's exactly what Miami's going to be trying to do in the 2026 class. Jaylen Waters committed to Florida. Look, we don't know what that program is going to look like in 2025. If you're Jaylen Waters, you're probably looking at a program that has a little bit more of sustainability, a little bit more clarity in terms of what this program is going to look like over the next 5 years. You don't have that with Florida. I think you certainly have that with Miami. Another kind of it's the kind of cornerback that Miami wants. Long, physical, can move vertically down the field. Miami's looking to get a head start, a jump start in 2026. There are a lot of programs that are just focusing on closing 2025. Miami, I think, will close well in 2025, but I think they're really trying to capture the momentum they have on the recruiting trail, get some early leads for some of these kids in 2026. It's a loaded visitor list. These are some of the guys that stood out to me. We'll close it out. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later.